Hi, Tony Selzo here. Welcome to the line. We have a great guest, Phil Foti, Paisan, right? With Tavas is an RPO, and more than that, he is the expert in really one of the experts in the nation on finding one of the most critical resources you can find for your business, the right who. Hey, if you're a CEO and you're trying to grow your business, you got to talk to guys like this. We have access. I was just on their blog, hawking them down. They are putting out some of the stuff that we need to know in order to accelerate to get a business from 1 million to 5 million to 25, $50 million in revenue. If you're a technology growth company, like I know most of our audience is, you've got to connect and understand how powerful finding the right who is. Phil, how'd you get into this? How'd you start this company and make, finding the right who your passion?
Interesting question, Tony. It was about 18 years ago, and I was in technology sales. I was one of the top reps at Honeywell, and I was also a rep for Sensormatic Electronics. I was always a top performer in technical sales, and I experienced a headhunter that recruited me from one company to the next. And as I sat in the interview process, I was kind of really interested in his position. I felt like it was something that I want to do. And I asked him how much money he's making on me. And I knew that within 2 years that I was in the wrong industry and I was going to move it up to and be in a bigger market. So I actually got into this business out of my own experience with a headhunter.
I mean, I'm glad you said that, because one of the things I realized when I was doing consulting and helping technology companies go to market, one of the first things we'd go do is find the VP of sales that knew the market was going to take us out. By the time they got done with the deal of acquiring that guy, he was getting a percentage of the company, more salary and equity than I did to help get the thing off the ground and raise the capital, because it's that freaking important. You got to have the right who and the right seats in the bus. And you deal with this every day, and you've really built a science, really an entire company that is shaped differently in a way to do that. I mean, and what I mean that is your DNA is exactly shaped to come alongside a company, augment what they do, and deliver it in a much more cost-effective way than they could do it inside. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you've got the research team, you got the sales team. What is the hardest thing about building a machine like this in working with some of the clients you do?
Well, interestingly enough, a lot of my ideas came out of dealing with VP level, C-suite level technology managers that were actually sourcing on LinkedIn on their own. And I just felt, wow, that's just insane. You're trying to deliver a product. You're trying to be competitive. And one of them was the fastest growing software companies in the country in the Inc. 500. And it just didn't make sense to me why a vice president would be, spending the time trying to source talent. We like to include them, involve them, but so a lot of my ideas and innovations really came from observing the inefficiencies of how, especially the small to mid cap companies observe talent acquisition. So it's very inefficient, very decentralized, very unfocused, and so I call it, and many in our industry call it, the post and pray. Right? They just run an ad, post it, and then they pray that the right candidate is going to show up, and that's just not a very proactive, aggressive solution. So
they throw stuff on the wall and they see what sticks, and
that's right.
That's the analogy we use on the marketing side. Let me just come back to what you said. You're a VP of sales. You're in a $150, $200 million software company, and you're posting ads or doing searches, even worse, through LinkedIn. And when do you do that? You do that at off hours. You do that after the time. And you are not going to be the right human being to use those tools in order to make that happen. You don't even know what to look for. Yet so many people get caught doing what I would call the Peter Principle jobs, right? The things that aren't in their swim lane, and they do it, and they think that because they've accomplished it, they can be successful at it. And what is the cost of getting the wrong person? I mean, when you get fatigued and you have a hole, their hole has been there for 6 months, and you go ahead and fill it with the wrong person. That's the real casualty to
Yeah.
this whole thing, isn't it?
I've heard numbers like the average national cost of a mishire is like $50,000, like the average. So, but when we're talking information technology, it's quite a bit steep. When you look about speed to market, execution, and stuff like that. Bringing a product to market. I mean, it's just it can be in the millions of dollars. So it's very critical.
Easily, especially when that guy Phil, when that company that just launched, let's say they got a VP of sales, you don't know for 18 months whether or not he's any good or not, because a lot of times they don't have insight to their pipe, and so you're waiting to see these deals fruit, and that businesses die on that vine trying to get going. Now that's really the pain that you help solve, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. So what we do is, which is quite different than what a company see. A little while ago, you spoke about a VP as an example, a VP of sales going out trying to find their own candidate. A lot of companies do have corporate recruiters. Mm-hmm. The problem is corporate recruiters just don't have the time to do the research, because a lot of corporate recruiters are tasked with many job openings. So they're basically duplicating the post and pray model, right? So they don't have the time, nor do they have usually the skill set to cold call passive candidates. This is the key. Only 5 to 10% of your talent universe is passive, right? So is active. I'm sorry. So we have to go after the passive candidates. So these are the candidates that are not looking for work. They are contributing to your competition, and they basically do not even want to really look at an opportunity. Often they are ambivalent towards it because they're doing such a great job. They're making great money. The people that say, I'm happy where I'm at. Yeah. Those kind of people. Those are the ones you want. It's not necessarily the 5% that are always in the market for a new opportunity, always looking to run the ladder. So we have to go after passive candidates. And the system today with mass advertising, the monster.coms and all the major job boards, they are not targeted. They're not, mass media does not reach that passive candidate. No. And you have to sell. Recruiting is selling. Recruiting is marketing, period. If you have a corporate recruiter and they don't have a sales background, or if they don't have sales skills, they are not going to be able to achieve what you need to do. You have to be able, especially for like information technology, you have to understand how to build rapport with these types of folks. A lot of these candidates sit behind, a computer all day, and they don't even have telephones. They will work off their cell, and they're very, you have to know how to reach out to them. You have to know how to talk to them, how to approach them.
You got to come to them in the medium that they want to be connected in.
Exactly. Absolutely.
You have to be able to relate to them and sell the vision and dream in a language that speaks to an engineer, that could speak to an IT guy, that could speak to a sales guy. So you have to be very kind of a chameleon, if you will, into being able to communicate in all these different levels. And what's more important, and this is one of the things you didn't say, I'm going to go ahead and say, you have to be willing to poach. And I was reviewing your site, and I couldn't believe that I saw a funnel, and there it is, poaching. Thank God for saying it out loud. You got to go get the competition's talent. And a lot of us know our CEOs of the companies that we compete against. We have friendly relationships with them. There's a great way to use somebody like you to go ahead and do that and create that, obligatory invisible shield between you and that. But more to the point, if you're not if you're not stealing somebody who's employed healthfully somewhere else, you're really not getting the best talent. Is that fair?
Absolutely. Time and time again. It's just, it's always the case.
Right. And so that's what companies like you do. And what I love is your model, the way you're shaped. Teaching a client to consume you as a fixed service rather than an event. I think that's one of the things that we have to do as service providers these days is tell our clients what they don't want to hear when it's for their best good, and teach them why. Do you agree?
Absolutely. It's not their area of expertise. A lot of people just think that, hey, we just need people. Let's send it to HR and post a job. They don't understand, really. And it befuddles me, really, because a lot of the companies that we work with, I see it in different regions. We're a nationwide company, so we're based in Austin, Texas, but we work with clients on the East Coast, the West Coast, and everywhere in between. And I see the companies that are very progressive and are adopting to new technologies, and they've brought recruitment into the boardroom. It's a strategic. They've got a strategic place, and the companies that give HR a strategic role and see them as mission critical to business are the companies that are succeeding. And they're putting recruitment first. Recruitment is their number one initiative. They put everything they have into it. They don't balk at fees. They understand the value that a great recruiter that can poach talent and bring that high value talent to them. They understand the value of that. We see a lot of that. We see a lot of it in Texas. They're very progressive, but we see it all day in Seattle, Portland, and Silicon Valley. We don't see it as much in the middle states. It's just true. And so they still have kind of the archaic view of talent acquisition, and they don't really understand that. They'll look at, oh, your fee is X amount of dollars. That is crazy. That's crazy. Well, really, when you calculate it, when you look at the cost of vacancy, which is a very key metric that most companies, when I'll ask a client, do you know what your cost of vacancy is? What is it costing you right now to have that seat unfilled by the right person? Well, we never really thought of that, Phil. Well, you need to know your metrics. You need to know your numbers. And if our little fee, which is little comparatively to usually the cost of vacancy of a high-level developer or a high-level, sales representative, it's a drop in the bucket, and it really builds that instant business case.
It really is a drop in the bucket. I just want to close with this because I'm getting the hail sign.
Me too.
The flyover state's got to really kind of check yourself. The cost of getting beat by your competition is what companies like you and what you do every day help avoid. I mean, that's the key.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is.
Great show, man.
It really is. Thank you.